into the party wagon and hold on to your pizza. What a great way to start, it's Drew.
Yep, just stretching. All right.
It's okay. Welcome, everybody, to Epic Tales from the Sewers. I'm your most excellent host, Justin. With me, as always, is my host, co-host with the most, who isn't afraid of any ghosts, Mr. Eric Will. How you doing, Eric? And with us today, we have a special guest host with us. He is a writer for Screen Rant and is also available on the Splash Pages podcast from the Dorking Network, Mr. Drew Mollo.
Me. Oh, yes. Hi, everyone.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Just making sure.
And our guest today has the distinguished credentials of writing for some of the most recognizable characters in all of comic and movie fandom, including characters like Godzilla, The X-Files, The A-Team, Back to the Future, Transformers, G.I. Joe, Army of Darkness, Galaxy Quest, The Ghostbusters, and, of course, TMNT. Currently, he's writing the companion book to the Armageddon game called Armageddon Game Alliance, as well as the 4-issue Saturday Morning Adventures TMNT comic. Let's give a big welcome to our guest. He ain't afraid of no ghost, Mr. Erik Burnham.
Hi, guys. Geez, I think I blanked out on just how many franchises I've worked on.
I couldn't believe it, man.
Yeah.
Oh, Eric, do you have a question? No, I'm not just like...
Yeah, just so many.
Yeah, I mean, it's when you look at it, it's like, oh, it's not just Army of Darkness. It's Army of Darkness versus Reanimator, and it's like Galaxy Quest. Oh my God! It's like you hit us right in the feels, and I just love it. But of course, we are a Turtles podcast, and you've written some really, really big Turtles books. And I just wanted to start off by asking, what's your history with Turtles? Like, what's your origin story when it comes to the fandom?
Well, like I think the vast majority of the country, I was introduced to the Turtles with the '87 show. I was the right age for it.
Nice.
And the sense of humor, the fun of action, and just the uniqueness of the property. It all just it came together at the right time in the right way, and I was hooked from there. After that, a friend introduced me some of the Mirage comics. There was the Archie comics, and just everything that has gone since, the movies, and just I've steeped in.
And I was kind of curious about this, starting from it. Do you think that a writer, when you're reading their stuff, you can tell who their favorite Ninja Turtles or Ghostbusters character could be, since you have kind of like a similar team of 4 based on the style of writing? Do you think? Because I was kind of wondering about that with you. Like, is there a particular favorite character that you spotlight when you write like that? And follow up, who is your favorite?
I mean, there's always a favorite, but the favorite changes. That's the fun of it. And I like just... I try to, when in these group things, when I do, and when I have the luck to do an extended run, I try to focus on different characters, at which point they're going to become my favorite. They're going to get as many of the best lines as I can.
Nice.
And give them. And so all of the Turtles and all of the Ghostbusters, to use those two in turn, have been a favorite. I think it's easiest for me to write snark. So Peter Venkman, Raphael, pretty easy. It's easy for me to write puns. So Michelangelo gets those. But I found that the dry wit is a lot of fun to write. So Donatello and Egon both, they depend on that, and they're just so much fun to write because they can get something in under the radar.
It's really interesting. I like that, and kind of how they all paired off. And I'll have a question down the road about that. But
sure.
In this world of TMNT comics, you're currently writing the Armageddon Game Alliance books, which is amazing, by the way. The Saturday Morning Adventures. Can you explain where the Saturday Morning Adventures fits into the TMNT universe?
Well, I was talking about the '87 cartoon. That's exactly what we're doing. We're doing stories that fit into that view of the Turtles, that version of the Turtles. Can they fit into the canon of the show? Yeah, mostly. I mean, we try to get it as much as possible, but there are some things that have changed in the last 30 years, just in the view of the brand. So things that weren't done in the '87 show are now pretty common and are looked for and are weird when they're gone.
Oh yeah.
So, for example, you watch the old cartoon, you don't see a whole lot of Leo, Raph, Mikey, and Donnie. It's always Leonardo, Raphael, Michelangelo, Donatello. And that seems weird now. But, you know, so that's something that we're working on doing, getting some of that stuff consistent, brand consistent. That's what I'm looking for.
Well,
I mean, other than that, what I've said is that they're supposed to fit somewhere between the regular the old school Turtles, 87 Turtles, and the Red Sky. So somewhere in that vast area is where these stories should take place, or could take place, without causing too much trouble.
So are we going to see Carter and Lord Drag?
Probably not.
Okay.
Probably just you know, you go into a whole different kind of continuity there, and it's, you know, but we're gonna try to use as much of the overall show as we can, or, you know, that was the goal, I should say.
We don't normally award points, but 1,000,000 points for that answer.
100%.
What kind of research did you have to do when going through for the 87 Turtles? Like, did you go and rewatch the whole season? Any of the particular seasons? Any particular episodes that stick out?
I did. I bought. I found a crazy deal on the entire series. I got it for $8.
What?
At an Amazon sale. I was just like, this can't be right. This is right. You know, it's still sitting at 40 over at the Walmarts and such.
Yeah.
But there it was, $8, and I just, you know, I took it. I took advantage before they corrected their mistake. So yeah, no, I've just been going back and watching episodes if I didn't have a firm memory of how the character acted or sounded, if I needed a refresher. But I tried not to. I tried not to go back too much because I didn't want to accidentally redo something that I had seen. I don't want to redo a line. I mean, if I do it accidentally, at least I can claim possible deniability. But you know, I mean, 10 years worth of cartoons, I'm going to repeat something in some ways. But yeah, but I mean, yeah, it's all there for me to refer to when I need it. If I need to look up something very obscure, it's there. But other than that, I have a pretty strong memory for the dynamics, the sense of humor, and the voices. So I felt pretty confident with that.
That's great. I'm sure they're going to make a collection of the 4 books. Is there a plan to keep it going, or maybe do issue 5, or just a new series?
Well, I mean,
that you can talk about, perhaps?
See, the thing is, there's been nothing announced, but if you look in previews right now, you're going to see Saturday Morning Adventures Continued #1.
Nice.
So
very nice.
So I mean, it's just like it's not official, but it's also, you're going to see it on the internet if you look without too much difficulty. So I don't feel like I'm going to get yelled at. Yeah. I might be wrong, but I'll say, but Diamond, they did it first. Tales from Another World. There's art, there's covers up. I you know, but yeah, we're going to be doing some more. So.
I know Eric had a question for you about video games.
Okay. Sure. Shoot.
Oh, are you on mute? On, Eric.
Oh, I'm on mute. My bad.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Okay,
you're good.
My bad. You know, me being a video game nerd, which I have a lot of video games. Of course, I have Shredder's Revenge, so that's going to pop up. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, how does like with do these books like tie in with like Shredder's Revenge and all that?
Well, they didn't tie in with Shredder's Revenge specifically because the game hadn't come out by the time that I had written the entire miniseries.
Okay.
And nobody mentioned anything to me about what was going to be in Shredder's Revenge. I had heard of the game, but I didn't know specifically what all they were going to dump in. I didn't know it was going to be such a smorgasbord. So
now, since you've already spilled the beans on something, I want to ask you this. Okay. Mm-hmm. So with that, since there's a continued series, are you going to maybe throw a little bit of, you know, something with the Shredder's Revenge into it, or are you going to have a little bit of tie-ins with that, or maybe
not off the bat? No, I still have to play Shredder's Revenge. What I got instead of Shredder's Revenge was the collection.
Oh yeah.
So I could go back and play that Nintendo game and try to beat it.
But I finally did that. By the way.
I am to the Technodrome. I've made it there.
Nice.
But yeah.
So Donnie.
Yeah. That's yes. But yeah, no, there's so much that we would like to do. There's so much that Nickelodeon would really like us to do. I mean, the guy who is in charge of us from Nickelodeon, he is very excited and has a ton of ideas and a ton of stuff that he wants to get in there. And I would not be surprised if he said, "Why don't you work in this idea from Shredder's Revenge or from something else or from a toy line at some point?" I wouldn't be surprised at all, but he hasn't yet. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff that we want to play with. And there's so much stuff to play with. I mean, just in the versions of the show, but also we do have access. I've been asking, can I do an 87 version of something that was never in 87? They said maybe. So we'll see.
Like City at War? Yeah.
So who knows? It could be. I mean, it could be anything. I mean, I could go back. I could grab stuff. I mean, technically, I guess the Archie books were the same thing, but maybe I could grab something from Archie. Maybe I could grab something from the IDW run. Who knows? They haven't said no. They've said maybe. So we'll see what I can wring out of them.
Better than a no. It's better than a no.
I would imagine people just like coming out of the woodwork and be like, "Hey, have you found a way to work in Walkabout yet?" Or like try to get like their favorite action figure in there. And
that's exactly what happens. But I mean, when you look at it, it's 20 pages, and there's already a lot of characters in there.
Oh yeah.
So it's I mean, if you keep the 4 turtles, April and Splinter, there's 6 right off the bat in the 20 pages, and I mean somebody will get the short shrift the more characters I add into the book. So it's a balancing act.
Like with the Archie series, sometimes you'd have entire issues where nobody except for either Leonardo or Donatello say a word. So it's just kind of how it happens, and when you've got like those ensemble books like X-Men, it's like, well, Rogue's not going to say much this issue. So, she just said sugar once, so.
Yeah, I found that out with Ghostbusters, with the more characters that were in the cast, the more that I had to work to get everybody to at least have a reason for being on panel. And that happened in the Armageddon Game Alliance, number 6, because that had to be in the book. There was Karai, there was Alapex, there was Casey and April, there was Bebop and Rocksteady, there was Koya, there was the 4 the Null Turtles, there was
the Gang of 4, yep.
The Gang of 4, Baxter and Null, as well as Sergeant Winter. So I had to have all those in there.
Wow.
and find a use for. Oh, and there was even another character that I forgot about that I had to find some space for. So the detective whose name just popped out of my head. Now I'm embarrassed. Thank you. Yep. Yes, Detective Lewis. So yeah, those were all in the book. And like I said, it's tough in an action book when action takes up more space, eats up a lot of space to fit everybody in. But I think I did a good job. I think I got everybody with something satisfying to do. So, you segued perfectly into my next question, because my next question is going to be about the central character in that book, at least in my opinion. So, in this book, when you have the Alliance, it features so heavily on Karai. And when I had Mateus Santaluca on, I told him that he was kind of the Shredder guy. I kind of think of you as the Karai guy, because the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles universe issue 12, way back when I had Freddie Williams on, I told him, I'm like, this is the book that made me love Karai. This is the book that made me look at this character and say, this is not some lamppost that is a ninja that is just in the background. This is a actual character with thoughts and motivations and all that. So, like, my question for you is, Karai is a character. What motivates Karai? And how is she different than the Shredder, pre-Armageddon Game Shredder? Okay. Here's I'm trying to figure out how I can put this. She initially had just the motivation to bring the Foot Clan back to a traditional, classic, old school ninja roots, not something modern. Not something, organized crime-ish, but something where they got people running around with swords and disappearing into the shadows, which was part of what we did in the in the first micro series, which if you haven't seen that, man, Corey Smith's art is just gorgeous and really needs to be seen by everyone.
Agreed.
But so that was her goal, was to bring the past back and then to bring Shredder back. And then she kind of got lost in having no identity. She was listening to the Shredder. She was listening to Splinter. She was really not having any kind of a direction of her own. But overall, the consistent goal was to make the Foot Clan great and keep it a going concern worldwide. So she and the Foot Clan are kind of one thing. She wants, it to be the best that it can be, the best version that it can be, tying together stuff from its history and its modern day, and taking it into the future. So she just wants to have her legacy be this clan to be successful, and for the rest of it, maybe she needs to get a life as well. And if I write some more, that's something I want to do.
Yeah.
But really, the reason that there hasn't been as much life is I kind of see her and I kind of write her as Batman.
Interesting.
So,
wow.
I mean,
okay.
So, there can be a wry joke here or there, but there's a lot of impatience and there's a lot of terseness. And I introduced her in Alfred because why wouldn't I? So, but yeah, so it's just, she's just so much fun to write. And I didn't expect to like writing her as much as I did. The first micro series, I think, was 2013, a decade ago. So that was the first time I wrote her, and my goodness, it was so much fun. And
by the way, the art was Sophie Campbell at the time, who is the current writer of the ongoing series. So how things have changed in a decade.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Sophie did a hell of a job on the Karai universe, and Corey Smith on the first one, the first micro series, and then Roy Mercado on the stuff we did on Alliance. My goodness. Oh, it was so cool seeing his pages come in. One, they're gorgeous, and two, I just love the acting that he gets on everybody's faces, subtle emotions.
Yeah.
It's not something every artist can do, but he excels at it. So it's great. You can see maybe what they're feeling and thinking without having anything explicitly in dialogue.
And you guys, I don't know, Eric, if you've caught this one yet. This is issue 5, right? So, and Drew, issue 5 of Alliance, Armageddon Game the Alliance. One thing that blew my mind on this is that you see Karai on the rooftop, and I think this was in issue 4, and she's asking for help from Casey Jones, and he's like, "What the hell can I offer you?" And she's like, "A moral compass." And I was like, "Oh my God, Ninja Turtle comics! What are you doing to me?" I'm like, because when you read it, it's not Saturday Morning Adventures. It's like there's some deep, character development going on here. This is the time. I'm like, this is great.
Well, the character's got to change.
Sit down.
The character's got to change a little bit, and that's something that we had talked about. Tom and I had talked about it. Charles Beecham, the editor, and I had talked about it. Is Karai at some point, if she is at all intelligent, which she is going to realize she's not going to get the results she wants by doing the same thing. So she's going to need to change some things. How can she change some things? She's going to, try different things, and asking for help is certainly one of them, as help from people folks didn't expect, like Alapex.
Yeah.
Which, God, that was the one thing that I had pitched so much.
Alapex
I just said,
ongoing series? I'm in.
No, just that scene that we got in the back of number 4 of her asking for help and Alapex just giving her a scar. Yeah. That was a moment that I've been wanting to do since May.
She was pissed, guys. Let me just tell you, Alapex was not having any of this. So,
I can believe it.
But it's cool though, and I mean, you wrote another character that I am just flat out obsessed with. And this was actually my first really, when I was starting to do this podcast, we started out by telling the stories. And one of the first ones that I did was the micro series Baxter Stockman. So it kind of has like a special place in my heart. But a lot of the stories that start out with kind of a sad backstory, and you find out that the character's motivation is based on like a previous trauma or something like that. But it doesn't seem so much that that's the case with Baxter as a character. He seems to kind of define hubris and unbridled ambition to me. And we definitely get that sense when Baxter, he's learning these lessons from his father, and they're kind of harsh lessons, but then at the end, he kind of pushes him out of his own company. I'm like, oh man, what a bastard. So, but what do you think drives this character for Baxter for you? Because I can't read enough Baxter Stockman in these comic books. He's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, Baxter is, as Tom wanted him to be, ever more Machiavellian, ever more of the classic post-crisis Lex Luthor.
Yes.
He is very smart. He's just smart enough that you can't really catch him, but he'll still trip up here and there. Always scheming. Schemers are just a lot of fun to write, and he is that guy. He is, well, like I said, he's very much a Lex Luthor type. Tom has a different model, a slightly different model, but I won't steal his thunder by saying who he based some of the personality on. I mean, you might already know, but it's a fun story and it's fun to see Tom tell it. But yeah, no,
I think I have an idea.
Yeah. But yeah, no, he's just. I mean, yeah, it's fun to write people that are amoral and scheming. He is just all in for number one. And I mean, you just can't have joy writing that.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I hopefully
like him playing with Null and with Rat King and all that right now, and it's so fun to see that it's like him and Krang are the only ones that are kind of playing by the rules. And I'm like, oh okay, this is really weird because who's going to double cross whom first? That's the question.
And with characters like that, you got to see who's going to see the double cross coming and have something in place.
Yeah.
I mean, again, that's the kind of fun you have with characters like these.
Do you think that this Baxter is the same or similar to the one from the last Ronin, or do you find that to be a different character? Or is it just kind of vague enough?
I think it's vague enough. I don't know if the intention is to have this be the definitive future of IDW or just its own thing. And I think by leaving it vague, it can be either and it can be both. And there's a lot of value in having it be, dealer's choice. So, I'll just say that he's not for me, but if he is for you, then by golly, he should be.
Oh yeah, no, not for me. I mean, and obviously you have Baxter as the mutant.
Well, just the general you, yeah.
The royal you. Mm-hmm. If so here's a question I don't know if you've ever been asked before, but if you personally had to stop a mouser or a group of 3 mousers, how would you take them out?
Well, I mean, let's call it Boston Dynamics. We set this up for real, but oh, that's a silly joke. But
got that, Drew? You got some friends, right?
Oh my goodness. Anyway, boy, I would hopefully find something to run them over with because I'm not getting it done with brute strength.
All right, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of taking out the little thing on the top, but I've got mine here. How did I take this guy out? Yeah. And I took the head.
Nothing wrong with some pedestrian polo.
Yes.
There you go.
I have a terrible aim. I don't have dexterity or physical strength. Yeah, I need to run him over.
Okay, so then if you were a turtle, you wouldn't have an aimed weapon or something like that. You would have something else. Okay.
Yes, I would be the opposite of Hawkeye.
Oh, okay.
So there we go. Yes, completely. Yes. I guess, I'm from Minnesota, so Hawkeye is Iowa.
Oh, nice.
That makes, yes, definitely that. I feel the opposite all the time of Iowa in general.
So how do you feel about mutant badgers then? That's just for the Minnesota fans. But
yeah. Michigan fans. Wisconsin.
Sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, no. Yeah. We'll get there. Maybe I can get them to introduce a mutant loon, although the artist would kill me for all those dots on the the plumage. Yeah, no, I would be dead quickly. But anyway.
So, sorry, Tim. You heard it here first. So, Drew, I know you had some questions regarding Ghostbusters. I wanted to give you a shot here just to. Yeah, antsy.
Yeah. No, it's that. No, I'm just listening. This is not antsy. This is absorbing information and enjoying. And now mutant badgers will just be stuck in my head for at least a day until it gets forced out.
Very Monty Python.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. I mean, I guess the thing that I definitely wanted to bring up is that you in your run of Ghostbusters, you did so many crossovers. I mean, Mars Attacks, Transformers, the Turtles 2 times, the real Ghostbusters, and then you had the mega crossover with everybody. So, I mean, you talked about getting everybody in a voice, and I remembered just seeing the end panel. I think it was at the first issue, and there's everybody, and I'm just like, they're all in this art. How? I could barely write 4. He's got like 4 times 10. That's a lot of Busters.
And let me tell you, Dan added more than I had initially intended, and then I had to add them to the script.
Right.
Wow.
The little NES sprites. I had to find something for them to do once he added.
Yeah. I was like, I had that. I did exactly that. I was like, I had that video, like every issue, and I own all of the IDW. Like I never missed an issue since I think the series started like 2011. I was like. Even at one point I was doing all the variants. I was like, I don't care how much it is. I want it. When I was just like, oh my God. So I think for me, it's I realized a lot of your Ghostbuster run. I mean, you had this huge task in the beginning. You're tying in both the movies, the video game, which was essentially the third movie, all in one. You've got like I remember I used to just lose count of how many Easter eggs you and Dan had in each issue. And, being a fan of the cartoon and everything, I was like, oh, I know who that is. I know who that is. But you filled in a lot of gaps in Ghostbuster history. Like, and I know, cause I pitched enough of the ideas to when for Screen Rant, and one I couldn't get was explaining that you and Dan filled a plot hole of Ghostbusters 2, as in what was Winston doing in the courtroom scene. And I was like, wow. And I pitched it, and they were like, no, it's too thin, man. I'm like, but this is like, so what did it feel like? You're filling in gaps of Ghostbuster history. You're like, not just filling in gaps, but you're expanding everything, like, and you're doing it in a way that nobody did. Like, what's the process there? Like, go.
Well,
that was a long question.
I'm sorry. I was like, I had this plan, and then my brain is like, he's here, go, and I'm just like, shit.
It's a fertile sandbox. I mean, there's a ton of stuff to do, and the movie left so many things, just little spaces in between the ad libs, if nothing else, that there was a lot of ways that we could go just to have some fun. And sometimes Dan would come up with something that he wanted to do. In fact, he wanted to do the Winston story and gave me could it just be this? And then I wrote from there. So Dan was the driver of that. Not to say I wouldn't got to it eventually, but he beat me to the punch. But yeah, no, there's just a lot of possibilities of again, they had so much that they threw out, and that's just Aykroyd's modus operandi there, just of course lore vomit all over whatever he's working on. Totally. It leaves a lot of things to pick up or ignore. And then and the more stories we did, the more possibilities we had to connect dots. I said, well, this thing over here that they mentioned in the movie would be a perfect thing to connect to this story that we wanted to do. So yeah, it was happy accident, and Ghost Corps was just so open to us doing pretty much anything. I mean, they started out with some rigid rules that they didn't want us to break, and eventually they let us break them because they were happy with how we were doing stuff. And those 3 rules were no Dana, no Lewis, no Slimer.
Yeah, because first issue that got the first 2 issues that the third one got broken. And then Lewis and Dana, that was in the Mass Hysteria arc, right?
Yep, they thought we would make Slimer like the cartoon, and they didn't want that.
Oh no!
So all we had to do was make him like the movie, and we were fine.
Totally.
He was in the Turtles crossover. We were happy.
He was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but so there was that, and then because and it was funny because talking about this with Justin that you guys came up with it essentially because the Turtles crossover, they were able to explore the multiverse, and I think it was the one where they cross over with the the ATC, Answer the Call Ghostbusters, you brought up the whole thing that that essentially them defeating Gozer led to the multiverse. That the dissipating Gozer's consciousness when that also imprinted the knowledge. So essentially, I was like, wow, with this one theory, you just made the real Ghostbusters, the Extreme, the Sanctum of Slime, even my beloved little sprite Ghostbusters, as you call them, from the second game. All this, I was like, and it's funny because I have a few friends in the community, and I remember I put an article about it for Screen Rant, and I said to people, like, I had no idea. I'm like, just think about it, everybody. And they're like, that is so cool. I'm like, read this book. Blows your mind. Like, when you come up with that, like, I mean, you know, like the Turtles, you must have been a fan of the movies and the cartoon and everything. Like, how does that come up? Do you just one day like, you know what, let's do that? Is that like
the crossovers?
Well, okay. The crossovers, just like ideas like that, where you just like, was that like a brunch between you and Dan Showing and Tom Waltz or something? Like, you're like, oh, let's do that. That's like, oh, that's good. Let's see what, like, you know, or is that something you've always thought about? Like, you know,
I mean, it's when I'm writing the stories, and again, having access to just so much stuff. Sometimes the stuff makes sense to connect to one each other. It just I didn't go in saying, okay, you know what, blowing up Gozer made this all happen. I started going, well, how would he explain it? And then I realized, okay, how Egon explained crossing the streams and protonic reversal and the whole nine. Right. That would be something that would work for a multiverse. That would be something that would explain how their you know their brain their ideas, you know, were everywhere, you know, without anything. And it just seemed like something that fit. So if something fit, you know, not what we got to use it. I mean, it just it was a happy accident. Some stuff I had, you know, long-standing, I really want to do this, and I waited to figure out a way to work them in. Sometimes I would work it in faster. The first, the second arc of the series, Peter exercising himself. So, I mean, that was the kind of thing that I wanted to, you know, play with. And the longer we did it, the more ideas occurred, and the more things, the more connections were possible. So it really was just being in the moment and finding the stuff and going, oh yeah, that fits together. I imagine that was, you know, kind of how X-Men was written with
I was
Claremont
just thinking, it sounds so Claremontian.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. We have very active lifestyles. It's not all wandering the countryside aimlessly or scaring passing motorists. And we all love a good cup of joe. And there's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. Bold, robust, delicious. It's coffee that can wake the dead. With over a dozen different roasts and flavors, Deadly Grounds can satisfy the most finicky of coffee addicts. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, he goes, breadcrumbs and everything. Yeah.
I didn't have a plan for this 3 years ago, but now it seems like I did. This is great.
He's full of it. He absolutely had a plan. You know.
Claremont tear down the cheek.
Yeah, exactly.
Signature.
I can read your angry narration.
Yeah, but remember, it has to be as you're walking away, the tear down the cheek, you know, with the monologue over your head, summarizing everything. I was like, okay, Chris, we got it.
I won't say that he didn't have a plan. I'm just going to say that if he didn't, this makes it, easy to bluff.
Totally. And then the other thing is that you and Dan Showing have been on, like, I myself am a Ghostbuster, so I have the gear and everything, and you and Dan have been on my list to meet for like years, but I'm on the East Coast, and of course the one Comic-Con I don't go to, one of my friends like, oh, I was at con and I got this sign. I was like, he was at Comic-Con the 1 year I don't go. Erik Burnham's there. And I almost like I just remember my girl just heard this loud yell and a thud because I flipped the table. And she's like, everybody was like, I'm fine. I'm going to put it back. I'm moving on. I'm just, it's the same way. There was a con that Dan Showing was going to be, I think it was in like Philadelphia. And I was like, oh my God. And I wasn't able to go because I had some sort of emergency that weekend. And it has happened. And I'm just thinking to myself, that's 2. I'm just one day. And so like, have you got to meet, Ghostbuster fans who cosplay and everything? And I assume they're ecstatic. And how does it feel when we're like, oh my God, thank you.
I mean, it's nice. I mean, it's nice to have people like what you do. And I mean, I've gotten every reaction down the line. So which makes it hard to get a big head. I've gotten, oh my God, this is amazing. I love this. I've been a reader. And I've got, there are comics. Since when? So, I mean, all those between it, it's, I'm not going to, get my ego out of control, but it's just, I write I live in a small town in the middle of nowhere, Minnesota. There's no comic shop here, so I don't have any connection with that group of people without driving hours. And I just I write my stories in the corner. I get all the stuff out, and then I kind of forget about them. And so it's sometimes I space out that people read these and not would enjoy them. So it's always kind of a pleasant surprise when I hear that people have liked it. So yeah.
Totally. I just realized during all this that you actually wrote the Tobin Spirit Guide.
He did, and it's amazing.
There's so many things you wrote that are literally within arm's reach of where I sit on a daily basis. Like wow.
I literally have like a Ghostbuster like shrine, and on it, like on the book era, literally there's the Total Containment trade paperback, the hardcover, Tobin Spirit Guide, and a few of the others. And I'm just like, I was like, nope, we don't open those. Only when the spookiest of shit happens do we open those books. There was one other question, and then I guess I don't know if Erik, do we go up to you or Justin?
I actually have a couple questions for him. I want to pick his brain a little bit.
Okay,
Is it about Crystal Head vodka?
Yeah, you know what? I have one more, Erik, and then I'm gonna go. We're gonna go up. We're gonna go up and around. But so
for all the listeners, it's more of a visual cue that Drew is doing. He's pointing up to where Erik is.
Yeah, well, I never get like don't fluster me here. Don't
audio show
me. So Erik, one of the things like you've done a lot of IW, but I remember the most random is that I know you did a little bit of co-writing with the Scarlet Spider in Marvel a while back, and I was a huge fan of that. Christios did a great job. Oh yeah, and I was really sad to see that end because I loved that version of Kane and whatnot. What was that like? Like I was like Erik Burnham, he's doing like Back to the Future and Ghostbusters and the occasional turtle thing like Marvel. I'm like, okay, and I'm like, yes, more. Why? Yes, have some, please.
Oh, like it was super lucky timing. I mean, first off, when the Ghostbusters came out, Yost had seen a preview, and he got a kick out of a joke from the first issue of Ray asked, Egon, I'd like to take a look at your brain with an MRI, possibly. I mean, just, he liked that joke. And then when he was working, he was very busy because he was working on Thor: The Dark World. He was working on that. So he just needed somebody to script over his plots for Scarlet Spider. And the editor of the book at the time, Tom Brennan, he liked my work and was, trying to find something for me to do at Marvel. And that's what it became. I got to co-write Scarlet Spider. And I mean, I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. So I jumped at the chance. I loved it. I loved writing Kane because he was different. I got to add a different kind of humor for him. And then I got to come back and do it again when New Warriors ended. Right. I really want to write him a third time, write him some more, but I don't know when or if there'll ever be an opportunity. So I'm just glad that I got where I got. It was a lot of fun. And I mean, I got to write, possibly just one of my favorite rogues in Kraven the Hunter in that big arc. So, I mean, super excited for that. And it was a magical time. I mean, I love writing Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man in all forms. So it was a good time. Although the joke I had is the one time I got to write Spider-Man proper, Peter Parker was in New Warriors and it was a silent panel.
Oh, no.
So I didn't get to put any words in his mouth the time I had a chance. And, I was kicking myself for years.
But now all that character development that you did for Night Thrasher and Speedball, will live forever.
It's true. It's true.
And I don't know who else was on the team at that point. I mean, was it Firestar? And I mean, did they have Rage?
Something like that.
Yeah, I got gifted a page and I'm looking up it now. There was Speedball, there was Nova.
Nova, yeah.
Yes. So, it was good times. I mean, this was the weirdest thing about that. The New Warriors was Chris brought in the Eternals. So I'm writing the Eternals and I know so little about the Eternals.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting thing, but I got to feel superior when the movie came out and say, well, that's not how I did it.
Yeah. Well, it's okay. 'Cause you kind of beat Marvel to that whole plot where what Drew was just talking about, where when you explode the bad demon, it creates like a rift. That's kind of the idea of Spider-Man No Way Home. So it seems like, you kind of beat them there on that aspect as well.
I mean, sometimes, the idea, all the right story paths lead to one idea, and it seems, either obvious or a cliche, but I mean, we all get there eventually. It's how we get there.
That's cool.
All right, Eric, your turn. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay,
I'm good for right now. You go.
All right, Eric, coming from Eric. No, I actually have a few questions. You talk about like you do like a lot of crossovers. This is a multi-question for the crossovers. But,
okay. Yeah.
Okay. One, what is your dream crossover that you would love to have?
Good question.
Like love to work on?
Mm-hmm. I thought there was going to be a multi.
There is.
No, I mean, I just thought you were going to do it all once.
This one's going to be probably take a moment.
Sure,
so go
ahead. There have been so many. I really.
What's the top one? The top one that you would just love to do right now.
Right now.
The shut up and take my money pitch.
Star Trek and Galaxy Quest. Which I've been trying.
Okay.
Which I've been trying for since.
Standing ovation.
Yeah, I've been trying for it for a long time, and it came very close to happening when they were about to do the TV show. But then, of course, Alan Rickman passed, and it just kind of went away.
God damn it!
But the thing is, the people who control the comic book rights, the media rights to Galaxy Quest, is CBS. So. They like the idea, but we just haven't. I haven't been able to sell the editors on it. I have an idea. I have a story that I really wanted to do, and eventually, maybe I'll get to tell it. If not, here's a joke that would never make it into the book. I have Jason, of course, being an actor, flopping into the Star Trek universe, waking up in sickbay, seeing Spock and saying, "Leonard." And I'm Leonard.
God damn, that's great.
So yeah, so that was the thing. And then, like I said, it leads to McCoy saying, "I'm Leonard, he's Spock. Who are you?" And I really want to do that series so much. But the other one that was back in the day that we couldn't get going, we couldn't get approved, was the two that we couldn't get approved. A Fantastic Four and Ghostbusters, which I really wanted to do.
God, yes.
Dr. Doom and Vigo would be the two, and then the other one that we couldn't do just because of ridiculous legal red tape was Ghostbusters Men in Black. So
I thought you were going to say Spider-Man and the Turtles. I thought you'd say that.
I really wish I could get something with it. Could have got something with Spider-Man, but Marvel was tricky about doing crossovers with the superheroes. And so we thought Men in Black, and Sony thought Men in Black, but Sony owns the movie rights and a very distinct, different version of Men in Black than Marvel owns. Marvel has the rights to do anything in print, but Marvel doesn't have the rights to like the character that Will Smith played.
Oh,
It's completely separate. They have the rights to the characters and the way everything was presented in the original graphic novel. So it just
Wow. And not even the cartoon verse?
No, it's. I mean, media, cartoons, movies, TV, all that stuff. Sony.
Okay.
And the J and K and all that stuff. The comics and the version that originally appeared, which was deeply overhauled for the movie, that's Marvel. So I mean, it just became a thing of no, because ours is not that, and there'd be too much of a split, I guess, for them to say yes.
amazing.
Can you imagine X-Files in that MIB world? That would be they'd explode.
It would have been much fun. It would have been a lot of fun. But I mean, crossovers are always fun because you get to play with toys, like a kid with here's my one figure and here's another figure, and they got nothing to do with each other, but they're going to have an adventure.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, well, that kind of brings to one of my other questions is actually, like with the Turtles, they've had a lot of crossover Turtles with like Stranger Things, Street Fighters,
Power Rangers,
the Power Rangers, and the Karate Kid Cobra Kai show and all that other stuff. Now, no, this is just me personally. I know it sounds crazy because they're coming out with the Street Fighters and the Turtles, right? Which I'm sorry, that's like way left field. You wouldn't, you know what I'm saying? You don't expect that. I mean, that's just too completely. I mean, I would love to see like Street Fighters and Mortal Kombat go at it.
That would be.
I mean, who wouldn't? But with Turtles and and them, but like I'm more like, how about we do Walking Dead and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Oh, damn!
I would like to see that one, or I was actually thinking when he was sitting there talking about Spider-Man, like you said, Justin, was about Spider-Man and the Turtles because they're in New York. So
makes sense.
I
mean, the one if there was going to be a Marvel superhero crossover with the Turtles, it wouldn't be Spider-Man. I think Kevin would bend over backwards for it to be Daredevil.
Yeah.
So but
true.
But for the most part,
needs to happen.
Yeah. But I mean, the crossover things, it's tricky because there are so many people who have to say yes for it to happen. There's one or two publishers, there's one or two or more rights holders, and if any of them have any hesitation at all, it just doesn't happen. So that was something. There was I honestly like it was with us trying to cross over the Ghostbusters with Marvel stuff. They weren't they were iffy on it, so it didn't happen. And the same thing might be with like The Walking Dead. Nickelodeon would say, no, we're not interested in crossing over our family brand with zombies. Or it could come from the other direction and have Kirkman say, yeah, I don't want to have something silly introduced into this world.
But that's
I'm not saying that he would say that, but I mean, he could.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing is like,
he's got that invincible Walking Dead money. He don't.
Well, that's the whole thing is like with the IDW Turtles and stuff. I mean, it's pretty dark. It's pretty gruesome. I mean, along with the Ronin and stuff, so on and so forth. So I mean, I can kind of see where Nickelodeon should be okay with something like that. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, it's comics. We're going through that.
They did 3 Batman series. I mean, that's with DC. I would think DC's the safer bet. I mean, they had the Turtles in the Injustice 2 video game, and Hellboy.
And I mean, well, and everything is, I mean, it's everything. Sometimes it just comes down to the person who has the yes, no say doesn't like the idea. And just doesn't want to do it. I mean, it really can just be that simple. No, I don't feel like it. I don't feel like giving a yes. So I mean, yeah, it's big corporations and a lot of money and a lot of legal stuff.
Yeah.
So some people also just don't feel like dealing with that. And how much money do we want to split, and how much is there to split? And I want more, and you want more. Yeah. So I mean, there's so many. I say no.
Seems like a big hassle, but it'd be so awesome if me personally, I would love to see Walking Dead. I seen the little thing that Ben Bishop did for what it was for David Sebo, where he did like his I don't know, it was like 12 books, and he did like this big old thing on all the blank covers with Walking Dead and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I thought it was absolutely freaking awesome.
Oh, that does sound cool.
It does sound cool. But
Ben Bishop, who's that? I'm not familiar with his work. He sounds like a cult leader.
Yeah, I think he is a cult leader.
Hi, Ben.
I do have one more question, though. I know that you were talking about, there was a lot of people that, really liked your work, like especially with the Ghostbusters. They were like, hey, has anybody ever come to you about writing a script for a movie?
No. I would love it if they did, but not as of yet.
I just me personally, the vibe that you give off on these books and everything else, and plus, with people that like people that Ghostbusters, they like your stuff, they like your writing, they like how you go about stuff. Do a show or movie. I think you have an evil genius brain in your head. It just seems like it right now,
Well, yeah, and there's as far as Ghostbusters stuff, there could be. I've talked to them. They know I'm always open to doing more stuff if they ever have a project that fits for. But it's also, it can be just, this is speculation. Don't think I'm calling anybody out. If Jason, who is now, driving the brand, if he doesn't think that the way I write stuff is compatible with his vision for the new stuff, then I would be doing less stuff with no fault to me and no fault to him. It's just like, I don't think we agree. So that can happen. It's just a matter of, not being on the same page creatively, or not thinking that the way I write something works with his babies. And again, that's speculation. I'm not saying that's the case, but I've never met him. I don't know inside of his brain, but that's a thing that could happen. Or I could tomorrow get we're looking to put together a writer's room for a project. Are you interested? I could get that too. I don't know. I'm always open though. I love the stuff. And then just in general, I before I started writing comics, it was a hobby of just, writing screenplays for fun. Again, lived in the middle of nowhere. It was it was something to do, something to pass the time. So I like the process and would enjoy doing it for something that might get made someday. Who knows?
That's fair enough.
I have to mention, I see a couple cool things on the wall back there.
I do too. I already noticed them.
So many cool things.
Marvel Legends of the Thing, Ben Grimm, and I see a big old Batman back there.
You see Alfred E. Newman as Batman.
Yep. Oh, okay. All right. That's great.
Yeah.
What, me worry?
I kind of see something which would be if he's looking this way to the right of his headset right there.
You're talking about the Infinite Crisis. Hopefully it's a Booster Gold.
No. No, if I'm looking at it, it would actually, if he was, on his right hand side. Nope.
That side or this way?
That way.
Oh, the turtles. The turtles on the wall.
Yeah, the turtles.
Okay. Yep.
The turtles. I spotted that when I first seen it. Just saying.
Who do you have on your wall?
Up there, that stuff there. I've got a Baxter and a Splinter that my siblings got me because I wrote Baxter and Splinter. So they got it for me as a memento of the micro series a decade ago.
That Splinter micro series, another absolute banger of a book.
One of my favorite ones to write. Yeah.
So good. Yeah. I loved it. Splinter, I actually act out the stories, and that was one of my absolute favorite ones to do. I love doing Splinter and Baxter, which is so funny. So, which is originally why I contacted you, because I was so interested in the Baxter. Speaking of Batman, because you have Batman on the back there used to be a series back in the day called Batman Legends of the Dark Knight, and it was kind of not in continuity, somewhat anthology. Do you think that there's room in the current climate for a Ninja Turtles version of that, where they would have anthology-like books, stories that just kind of take the characters and be like, well, today we're in space, tomorrow we're fighting Triceratons, stuff like that? What's your opinions on that?
That was a big part of Mirage for a while, if I remember right. I don't know. It's something that could work, or it's something that they could decide that they don't want to do because it's just too weird, or they tried a middle ground with Universe. But I don't know. I mean, it really could just be something like, well, like I was talking earlier with Ghostbusters. Here's the things you cannot do. Here's the things we're never going to allow you to do. And then a few years later, we got to do them. It could just be the same thing. Right now, they could say, right now we've got the Seth Rogen movie. We've got the marketing on the New York Times bestseller Lost Ronin, which is getting toys. Yep. And we've got the books. We've got all this stuff. We don't want to have something that is weird. We don't want to have that dilution in the brand. Somebody could and then a month later they could change their mind and say, you know what? We would like something weird. Let's do that. So I think it would be something fun, and then the market could support it. But I don't know if it's in the cards anytime soon. Because I mean honestly, there's so much content coming out. I mean, I had no idea that the Street Fighter crossover was happening until I saw it in previews. So I mean, there's tons of stuff, and that to say that it could be something they're working on right now that I just don't know about.
Right.
I just like to bring it into, fruition, or bring it into reality by speaking it out loud.
Oh, sure.
Like a fifth dimension being, like Batmite, right?
Mm-hmm.
I actually, I have a couple questions here about Godzilla. Drew, did you had another question?
I had just two, and then I was going to shut up for the rest of it. I'm just going to sit and listen to all the good stories. One. Total crossover that could have been great. Ghostbusters and Hellboy would have loved that. And the reason I say this is because at one point you did Ghostbusters International, so you had them overseas, in different countries doing all this stuff. And when I was looking into this, I kind of felt that you guys kind of did something similar. I know that Mignola does, where Mignola, he takes folklore, mythology, little pieces of everything, and kind of combines them into its own unique mythology that kind of pays tribute, but its own thing. When you and Dan were having the Ghostbusters, doing that kind of like that investigating course, as Vankman would say, for an extremely good fee. Did you do like the research, or did you guys come up with some of that, or did you actually like base it on real hauntings?
We did do some research. We did do some tailoring, and then other things we just pulled out of thin air. One of the ones that people remember best was in the early parts of the book was that orphanage haunting. Where
God, that's terrifying.
Yes. And see, that was all. It wasn't in the pitch. It wasn't in any of the early materials. It wasn't something we were going to do. And then I said, we could use another standalone bust. And I came up with the idea while I'm sitting at a Taco John's having lunch one day.
Yes, Taco John's.
So I mean, it just came together that fast. Why don't we go this way? And then some other bits of lore that are a little, Marie Laveau when they went to New Orleans, something it's overused maybe, but we picked some of that and then tailored the legends to our purposes.
Oh, cool. And then the second thing is, I know that like how Dan's showing, and I always apologize because I always feel like I say people's names wrong. I know that he posts artwork and stuff that he does, quick sketches of it. And I also know that on your social media, your Instagram, you post sketches of things you do. Are you a self-taught artist? And if so, do you just do like, I'm going to draw that today and just? Yeah.
I mean, there was. I didn't do any art education out of like high school, but we had a pretty in-depth teacher at the time. It was 4-period day, so we got a lot more in. But I draw for fun now. I stopped doing any real study of it. So while I probably could do something that is more. Well, it looks better. I'll put it that way. Something that's not just a quick cartoon. I don't think I have the patience for it. So, it's just all a little bit of fun. But I mean, who knows? I mean, Dan and I snuck some pages into the comics here and there, just for fun. And I realized that it was too much while trying to juggle the writing.
Right. Of course.
But yeah. So.
Okay, I'm good. Justin, go.
Mm-hmm.
So I mentioned at the beginning Godzilla, and a lot of the listeners are really big Godzilla fans. And I mean, part of our Dorkening podcast network, there's so many kaiju fans out there. One of them, Pat Ray Hall from Throwdown Thursday podcast asked, how do you continue to make stories compelling when it's just assumed that Godzilla would every time win due to his overwhelming power? Is it similar to the issues writers have with Superman? And how do you overcome that whilst trying to keep the battles believable?
Okay, well, I have a slightly different edge here in that they specifically wanted the Godzilla books that I'm working on to be middle grade, which means the leads are 12, 13, which means the tone of the book is going to be a little sillier, so long as Godzilla isn't silly.
Right.
So his battles are going to be what they're going to be, and he's going to win. But the compelling bits of what do you worry about is what's going on with the kids as far as the story is concerned. But yeah, I mean, Godzilla is going to come out on top, and I mean that's an edict. His name's on the book. Yeah. It's just, what kind of fun can you have going there? I mean, how will he? What can I make Dan draw? That is fun. That is different. That is interesting, and that's the challenge. That's and also not have it be too much, too overuse of Godzilla, so that he doesn't fall into being silly just because of the rest of the book. I just, it comes down to what would be cool in the fights, what would be fun to see, what would be fun to draw, would be, and then from there, it's just, it's not, as I said before, it's not about the destination, it's how you get there.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's how do we get to Godzilla's win, and what kind of shenanigans will pop up in there? I tell you, unless they change their mind, we do have another idea, another book that's in the early stages, and it will have Jet Jaguar, so we're going to have some fun with that.
Yeah.
So,
wow, that would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of leads into.
If I'm going to get in trouble for anything, if I'm going to get in trouble for anything, I'm going to get in trouble for that. So I'm sorry, guys. Don't fire me.
So what you're saying is good, but there's definitely no Godzuki in your book. So that's what I'm hearing. There's no, there's nobody. Well, let's get Godzilla. Click.
Mm-hmm.
He just pops out on a stream of water. Like what? I was sleeping.
No Godzuki, no Manila.
Okay.
Which I think that's the name on the trademark sheet, Manila. And it just I wouldn't be able to write that character without sneaking in, girl, it's true, or something along those lines. But there was a bunch of stuff.
A lot of lip syncing. That was actually in my hometown, Bristol, Connecticut, is where Milli Vanilli got caught at Lake Compounds. So just wanted to shout that out there.
It's a shame because they had demonstrable talent afterwards, but they couldn't get anybody to trust him again.
Yeah.
It's just it's been fun playing around with Godzilla, although it has been really hard. Again, with the kids, how do you make the story about them and have Godzilla as well and make it believable enough? But while I've had a little bit of flack, or seen a little bit of flack from some of the adult fans wondering why it's not Godzilla just tearing the hell out of other monsters, the target audience, the ones that Toho wanted to, draw into Godzilla and get to that point, they've been loving it. Little kids have, they send us pictures and they send us drawings, and they're just they love these Godzilla books, and knock wood, that'll lead them to being fans of Godzilla and give them another generation of fans. Help give them another generation.
Same thing with the Saturday Morning Adventures and kids. Mm-hmm. We did have a question from Parasite Steve from the Retro Redoctopus podcast. He was asking, are there kaiju that Toho forbids you from using, or do you have access to the whole stable?
I think we had access to everybody.
Nice.
It's been a couple of years now since I got the down low on the rules. So I don't remember if there was anybody that they said we couldn't use. No, I can't think of anybody. I might have gotten stopped if I'd tried to throw Zilla in. They might have told me. and you know, they have, Toho has a bunch of rules, even if I do use a character, about what can and can't be done. So even with a joke, I couldn't do a dream sequence of Godzilla talking because Godzilla does not talk.
Okay.
You know, things like that. So I mean, it's a dream sequence. No, not even in a dream. So you know, there's been stuff that I found out. I found out about the secret rules when I ran into them.
So that sounds like its own little thing, the secret rules of kaiju or something.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
you and Sophie can work on that book.
Oh God, there's one other thing that I found. This wasn't a you can't do rule, but I said, so in the first miniseries, can we have Godzilla breach out of the water? They said yes, but he has to land on his stomach like a whale.
Okay.
So he can't. You know, he can't land in some other way. He can't like launch out of the water and land on his feet or anything like that. And I said, all right, you know, that's a fair rule. That's I can get behind that.
Like Kong, right? Like yes. Kong landing on that aircraft carrier.
That's exactly where I think the rule was established when they were writing that movie.
That's really cool. Yeah, we have tons of kaiju fans. Tim Krikorian from Retro Doctopus also asked, is there pressure to use the same kaiju that has been established or over monsters that are original characters? Do you have original characters? I'm such a neophyte when it comes to kaiju. I'm sorry, Eric, so I wouldn't know. But no. Do you have original kaiju characters or?
No. Anything we use would be something that Toho owns, and period. I mean, they wouldn't want us to use other things.
Okay, that makes sense.
They just want us to use the stuff that they own, you know, in the Godzilla mythos.
Oh, that's great. That's really great.
And I mean, there are so many that are you know, not, you know, that are more rarely seen that it wasn't really hard. I mean, even though we wound up using, you know, some of the favorites because you also have to. You got to have Ghidorah in there. Everybody loves him.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
But you know.
He is our king. Oh,
yes. Well, and we also got Caesar. So, I mean, there was that. I was so excited that we got King Caesar in there. Yes.
There you go.
So just for listeners, we're just going to start wrapping up here. I did want to mention that another thing that you did that's kind of really cool and feeds into this podcast a little bit is that you helped on the Ghostbusters cookbook, right? So with this, with the Ghostbusters, if the Ghostbusters were to order a pizza to share with the Ninja Turtles, what do you think would be on that? And do you think that Egon would get his pizza with mold, spores, and fungus?
I mean,
oh God,
Twinkies. I'm sorry. What?
That's right. I threw that out there.
That's cheese and mushrooms. You know, a little blue cheese sprinkled on there. He's fine. It's all good.
So we're dealing with a professional here. He actually knew exactly where I was going. So.
Yeah, that man just nailed it first, not even a question.
There you go. Yeah, it's that would be it. It'd be a spores, molds, and fungus pizza, which, by the way, I think Jen included into the cookbook.
They did.
Because yes. Also, just for the sake of it, I have made that macaroni and cheese like 3 times, and it's absolutely amazing. Oh, so if you haven't yet, if you have the cookbook and haven't yet, do that.
Do it.
It's great. You know, you'll maybe regret a few pounds put on, but it's worth it.
It's
every one of our episodes features a pizza recipe.
Oh, nice.
So after we do the interview, after we do the comic book, I do a pizza recipe. So keeping with that, what would be your topping of choice on your pizza?
Oh, well, it depends on my mood. I do have a friend that
Eric hates pineapple on pizza.
I was surprised. I was surprised because I saw it as a frozen pizza with the Stranger Things.
Yeah, it was good.
Pineapple, jalapeno, and onion.
Yep.
Put those 3 together is good. You need
childlike there.
I need the spicy if I'm going to have pineapple because I
at least do bacon.
Pepperoni works with it. I'm just saying pepperoni and pineapple works.
But yeah, no, I mean I'm pretty basic. I will do pepperoni and any kind of vegetable you want to throw on there.
Nice.
So yeah.
That works, you know, something green for Ghostbusters. I mean, I was just going through when I was looking at all the stuff that you've worked on and some of the stuff that some of our listeners may not be familiar with. You know, we did talk about the New Warriors, Scarlet Spider, but the Opus book, Bill and Ted Present Death. I picked that book up again, not even knowing that you wrote it. Loved it. Army of Darkness versus Reanimator. Wow.
Yeah.
Red Sonja, Chastity, Vampirilla, and Deja Thoris. I'm a huge fan of Deja Thoris and John Carter of Mars, Thuvia of Mars, like all that kind of stuff. Kiss. Do you have to like Kiss's music to read their comics or to go into that? Like, do you have to be familiar with it, or how does that work?
I had fun. The former editor-in-chief of IDW, Chris Ryle, he is a gigantic Kiss fan. So when he came to me, he goes, I'm not sure I like you writing Kiss. Are you even a fan? I said, gosh, I don't know. I can't name you any of their albums. Was Psycho Circus any good? I just saw the
yeah, for like the Tom McFarlane thing.
He was just. But my one of my careers before I got into writing was broadcasting, was radio, and I worked at a classic rock station. So,
all right,
I'm very familiar with it. And I have a lot that I enjoy, and I have a lot that I have forgotten about because I didn't listen to it because I stick to the stuff I enjoy. But I have seen them in concert. I enjoyed the heck out of it. I do enjoy the music. But the thing that I wrote, I co-wrote stuff with Amy, and she had a whole thing that she had already worked out, a whole mythos. This thing that I wrote was take their persona, take 10 pages, write them doing something superhero-y. You have no limits. That was fun. You can't not have fun doing that. You don't even need to be a fan of Kiss to have fun doing that. But it all worked out. So I do. I enjoy the music. I had fun on that. And
that's really cool. So I have some kids in the room, and they're asking what Love Gun's about. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you read my mind.
Oh boy! All right.
Bring them the 1999 film Detroit Rock City. Put them down, and you'll
Yes,
you'll enjoy it. Yes,
that guy knows it.
That's how horror movies start.
You ever seen that? You ever seen the movie Role Models? Role Models.
Yes.
Oh yes.
You know what that song's about? Paul Stanley.
As a completely a quick aside, the time that I felt the oldest in a movie theater was years back. I went and saw. I don't know if you guys have. You probably may not, but the movie The New Guy. Have you heard of that? Do you know?
Yes.
That?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So I'm watching the movie, and Gene Simmons' cameo as the preacher preaching abstinence. I bark laughed in the theater, and everybody else was silent. This has happened to me twice. The other time was the Broken Lizard movie, Beer Fest.
Oh, nice.
When Jurgen Prochnow says, I get testy in U-boats. I had a bad experience once. Again, I laughed. The whole crowd was silent, and I just said, I feel old. I don't belong here. What's wrong with me?
Oh, the boys get when they got a bit of the syrup in them.
Mm-hmm.
That's a Broken Lizard is going to team up with Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters are going to go up.
Oh God!
Oh man!
Please don't.
Put those guys in a paranormal comedy though. That would be fun.
They're doing something on Hulu next month.
It's Quasimodo.
Quasi.
Yeah. I just watched that, and there were a couple of beats in that trailer that seemed so Monty Python-ish. I couldn't believe it. And I look forward to watching this and hope it's funny.
Yeah, I do too. With that, fellas, do you guys have any other questions? I don't want to keep our guests too much longer.
I think I had one, but I want to let Eric go first if he has more. I seem to recall he said a multi-tiered question, and I feel like he only asked one part, so I didn't want to steal his thunder.
Maybe I disappointed. I thought maybe I disappointed on the first part, so he just gave the rest up.
No.
I
asked him a second question, but my third question is, of course, we've seen all the TMNTs coming along, like we've had the 2012. In the comics as well. We also had Rise in the comics. Do you see yourself possibly doing the Mutant Melee Turtle comics? Because I'm pretty sure it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, but I mean,
you're right.
TMNT has been a huge thing for IDW. TMNT is well alive, and not going to lie, I know they're talking about an action movie too, a live action movie with the Turtles too, from the people from Saturday Night Live. So, I mean, do you see yourself possibly working on Mutant Melee comic?
I mean, it's not something that's on my radar right now, just because nobody's asked me to think about it. Yeah, if they came to me and says, "Do you have a pitch for this?" I'd do my best to come up with a pitch for it and see if it's something that they wanted to do. I don't think there's anything in the entire Turtles canon that they are completely closed off from doing permanently and forever. But there's also so much that, who knows where they're going to put their focus and attention at any given time.
Yeah.
So it's something that it's something that could happen. It's something I could do maybe, but it's not on my radar right now.
Let
us
know if it does.
Okay.
Yes, I will let you know if it does. If they ask me to pitch, I'll be sure to let you know.
Sweet.
Okay.
Jet Jaguar. That's his answer.
Yeah, exactly. Always Jet Jaguar.
That's it. Yes.
So I had one. So because when you were talking about how the Saturday the Saturday morning cartoon one, which I read all of today, and I just want to say I love that each issue had a breaking the fourth wall moment. And I was saying this to Justin before this, so I don't know which one I enjoyed more. The one where Michelangelo's like, yeah, man, and we still have 22 pages left to go in the book. Yeah. Wait, what? Or, yeah, it's nothing like nothing in the 60s ever inspired something modern. Look, which were great. So you talked about, how it keeps going. And that reminded me, I think, of how Back to the Future was supposed to be a limited series. And then it was such a good reaction. Like, we're going to keep it going. And I know you and Dan did a Doc Brown story in that. And, when Justin is just reading your credits, I'm just thinking like, this guy's living every fan's dream. He gets to anything he loved as a child. He gets to, did a story for that. I was like, this is goals. This is amazing. What was that like? You're doing a Doc Brown story, and I was just like, what was that like?
I mean, here's the thing that was weird about it. I might have just thought, okay, this is fun. It's Back to the Future. I'm enjoying myself. But we also had Bob Gale sitting on our shoulder, looking over everything, making suggestions. So that was just weird. And enjoyable. As I said, it was fun. I mean, because Christopher Lloyd's voice is, I think, in everybody's head. So it was fun to play with that.
I can hear Great Scott in my head.
Oh yeah, yes, it's exactly. It's there. It's everywhere. I just wish that they would let me have a stab at Indiana Jones. I don't think it's ever going to happen, but I sure would like it.
Whoa, yes.
But I was hoping, with the new movie, maybe they'll get some licensing out there. But at this point,
Dark Horse had it, but I mean now it's Disney, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was just thinking with your crossovers, I was like, what's going to stop Godzilla from just crossing over Pacific Rim or just a big old kaiju battle? Or the thing that I've always wanted to see, let's just see Godzilla and Stay Puft duke it out. I mean, he's a kaiju. Yeah, that counts.
Fight.
Yeah, exactly. I would be like, I know it's a roasted marshmallow, but you showed us in Infestation that melting zombie Stay Puft is terrifying.
Yes.
So, hey,
it is the weirder the crossover is, the more fun it is to come up with a way for it to make sense. So I would have a lot of fun doing any of that. It was super fun coming up with a way to get the Transformers in there. And
my God,
I was so giddy when they told me yes, I could do all the weird ideas that I had. So
I hope Sea Spray was in it. I didn't read it yet. Is he? Am I gonna be happy?
Okay.
It's just I had to limit it, and it was just the first couple of seasons, the first season of the show, just a couple of characters from that. But I had Gozer come to Cybertron was how it started out.
Ooh,
Justin is amazing, and because I believe Starscream is Ray. So
yeah, I mean he's Starscream.
Mm-hmm.
He's Starscream. So he's the Ray. That's all I'm gonna say. And
again,
it's hilarious.
Again, Chris Latta is so much fun. His voice is so much fun to write. So I had a lot of fun translating Starscream and then later Cobra Commander.
The original Mr. Burns too, by the way. So
wow.
You have done work for Bongo Comics as well. So
I did. I got to do one Simpsons story. Damn. One whole Simpsons story.
Chuck Dixon, I saw.
Yeah. He got me in there, and it was. He was telling me how well Bongo paid. I said, well, I sure would love a piece of that. And he got me in with the editors. it was a kind thing that he did not have to do. So it was yeah,
Totally.
but it was a fun thing to write, and I don't think that I would ever have gotten another shot, because they worked out so far ahead and worked with so many of the same people that it was just a miracle that I that I found an open hole in their schedule. So yeah,
that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
With that, I want to thank our guest. And I mean, we've gone a little long, so I appreciate it. Erik, if you hang out for just one more sec,
sure.
You can check out him out at Erik Burnham on Instagram and on Twitter. And
it just needs to be a K.
a K in there.
Not a C, like
it's a K. R-I-K. Yep.
The Nordic spelling. So
that's correct.
Luckily, again, not a visual podcast, so but and also check out the website Burnhamania.com. It's a really cool website, a lot of good stuff, and you can learn a lot about him. And we'll post links to that in all of our show notes. I want to thank our guests, Eric and Drew, and we will be right back with our pizza recipe of the day. Thanks a lot.
It's pizza time.
And now, in a segment that we call Pizza Time, where we discuss any Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle or pizza-related food, I give you Pizza Time.
Okay, for your pizza time today, we're going to go with something a little bit different. We're going to go with a Ghostbuster-themed recipe that Erik actually talked about in the episode. With this, I'm going to give you, from the Ghostbusters cookbook, Egon's favorite mac and cheese. So they say it's difficult, as Erik was saying, yield about 8 servings, prep time 15 minutes, cook time 40 minutes, and dietary. It is not vegan because it does have some food. Now let's read a little bit of this ingredients. So we have macaroni, 16 ounces of elbow macaroni, 4 cups shredded sharp cheddar cheese, 1.5 cups shredded Gruyere cheese, 8 tablespoons, 1 stick of unsalted butter, 1/2 cup all-purpose flour, 3 cups whole milk, 1 cup heavy cream, 1 teaspoon dry mustard, 1 teaspoon garlic powder, 1 teaspoon paprika, 1/2 teaspoon kosher salt, 1/2 teaspoon white pepper. Topping: 2 cups of cheese crackers, roughly crushed, he said Cheez-Its, 6 tablespoons of unsalted butter melted. Step 1. To make the macaroni in a large pot over high heat, bring water to a boil. Add the macaroni and cook for 8 minutes. Drain, but do not rinse. Step 2. In a medium bowl, combine the cheddar cheese and Gruyere. Set aside. Step 3. Preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Grease with a deep 13 by 9 inch baking dish with a non-stick spray. Set it aside. Step 4. In a Dutch oven over medium heat, melt the butter. Add the flour and whisk for 1 minute until lightly browned. Add the milk and heavy cream and whisk for 1 to 2 minutes until bubbling. Step 5. Stir in the mustard, garlic powder, paprika, salt, and white pepper. Step 6. Set aside 1.5 cups of the combined cheeses, then stir the remaining 4 cups of the cheese into the pot, whisking until smooth. Step 7. Stir in the cooked macaroni, tossing to coat. Pour it into the prepped baking dish. Sprinkle, then reserved 1.5 cups of cheese. Step 8. To make the topping, in a small bowl, stir together the cheese crackers and the melted butter. Step 9. Spread the topping evenly over the macaroni mixture. Bake for 25 minutes until browned and bubbly. Served hot. And that is your pizza time for today. Egon's favorite mac and cheese. Cowabunga, dudes! Thank you for listening to the Epic Tales from the Sewers podcast. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were created by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. This podcast has no affiliation with Eastman, Laird, Mirage Studios, IDW Studios, Archie Comics, or Nickelodeon Studios. This podcast is a member of the Dorkening Podcast Network. Check out thedorkening.com for other podcasts. Epic Tales from the Sewers is recorded by Justin Cooper and Eric Will. Hello, intrepid listeners. This is the Generation Playlist Podcast, a podcast about music where we are your guides through a particular group or artist.
We talk about the music, and then we make a customized playlist to share with you, our listener. And you can check us out wherever you listen to podcasts and find our playlists on Spotify.
Do you like gaming?
You know, this game would be better if it was a battle royale.
Do you like technology?
I bet this tech would work better if it was a battle royale. Do you like movies, TV shows, and everything else that me and Nate can't agree on?
The Last Jedi was easily the best Star Wars film I have ever seen.
That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Everybody in this room is stupid now because of you.
Talking Gaming and Tech is a bi-weekly podcast where we cover the latest, greatest in gaming and tech.
Now part of the Dorkening Podcast Network.
Talking Gaming and Tech is a podcast produced by Tech Prime Media. You can find us on YouTube and all other social media platforms. You can find Talking Gaming and Tech on Apple Podcasts or wherever else you get your podcasts from.
This podcast is filmed live.
If you want to check us out while we're filming live, remember to follow links on social media and your comment might be read on air.
It took me 10 years to make the perfect man cave.
And then we took it over. And we made it into the multiversal chamber.
Then I started my own podcast.
And we took that over too. And we're the co-hosts, the Multiverse Kids.
Yeah, and I'm the dad, the geeky dad. And every week, what?
We review the movies, shows, and books. Games and toys.
Yeah. And sometimes we even have a special guest. So, join us every week on the Geeky Dad Podcast.
Greetings and shabibans. We are the Retro Reductopus Cephala Podcast, a long-form bi-weekly show that celebrates all the things that made growing up awesome.
Well, that sounds good, but I don't know what all those words mean.
I think what Parasite seems trying to say is that on Retro Reductopus, we explore a range of retro goodness, from toys, video games, and movies, to cartoons, and even snacks and school lunches.
Oh.
And we do it all with a positive spin, a slew of killer guests, and some very adult language.
And you know what else is cool?
No.
This crazy show is part of the Dorkening Podcast Network with new episodes every Tentacle Tuesday.
What's that?
And if waiting 2 weeks for a new episode gives you a sad, know that we drop bonus episodes all the time, like the off-format Crow's Nest and an interview series we call The Brig.
You can listen to Retro Reductopus on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any app that's cool enough to carry the only show that celebrates all the things that make growing up awesome.